So here we are again, back by distinctly unpopular demand, back in the southern hemisphere, in the deep south, in Johannesburg. That picture there is the skyline that is just over that way, Sandton, a city on a hill. This is the first recording I'm doing down here in the south. I'm still ironing out the wrinkles. I broke my Marshall headphones a couple of days ago, so I'm headphoneless for the moment. I'm going to have to sort that out. So I'm not quite ready to jump back into lyric videos, but I have something that, for me at least, is very, very special to share with you. It's along the lines of another dodgyCam presents. A few of you have taken a listen to the opening few pages, 1,000 words or so, of the first short story that I ever wrote. I've subsequently rewritten it, so now I have two versions of it, and I'm about to write a third because I had some very interesting challenges about the nature of, I guess you'd call it, bias, gender bias, and issues of all sorts of things came out of that story. But in the meantime, I wrote another little micro story, 1,000 words or so, based upon a kind of a joke and a moment while I was walking with my son that turned into a joke, that turned into a bad pun, that turned into an exercise in creative writing, particularly an exercise in writing something that I really enjoyed, a sort of noir detective style, a sort of American cop style, noir mystery, murder mystery, I guess you'd call it. And it's short enough that it's possible to read the entire thing in a fairly, by the standards of this channel, a fairly short read. However, it's entirely impossible to read it without an American accent because it was written specifically for the American accent. And my American accent, my fake American accent, is shocking and appalling. I don't particularly hear my own accent when I speak. I'm not one of those people that can mimic and do accents. And so I scratched my head and I thought I'd really, really like to feature this little story because it's dark and twisted, and it was an awful lot of fun. New continent, new cop. It was an awful lot of fun to write, and might even be fun to share. But I don't have a vast library of Americans to pull on to read it for me. But I have one very special American friend, and in a weird way, he's perfectly emblematic of what I've tried to do with this tiny little channel. Kevin reached out to me, I think initially on Facebook, based around something or other to do with Rush. Temple Vision t-shirt today. And as a massive Rush fan living in Kentucky, he and I developed over the years what I would say is a genuinely rich friendship, a relationship. We've never physically met. We haven't had that opportunity yet. But I feel a kinship to Kevin. And in fact, even managed to sort of, during the time when I was still wading in the toxic sludge that is Facebook, even managed to make a few friends along the way with some of his friends. And probably more importantly, make a lot of enemies of some of his friends who hold abhorrent beliefs about gender and race and all of the things that certain people, I guess in the south of America, hold abhorrent beliefs about. In fact, so much so that, the sort of combative nature of those interactions is part of what made me realize Facebook was no longer a place I wanted to be. But I did want to keep my friendship with Kevin, and we've retained that friendship over WhatsApp, and we chat occasionally, and we share ideas and thoughts. And I thought, even though Kevin is, he's done lots of jobs. This much I know about him. He's been a cinema projectionist. He works at an auction house. He's done some work with cars. He's done work with computers. He seems to have had more jobs than any three men alive. He's not, by any estimations, a professional reader of books, but he does have his own little YouTube channel, MotoDork, in which he waxes lyric about all manner of things while riding his BMW up and down the highways and byways of Kentucky. And so I thought what I would do is ask Kevin to read my story and beg your indulgence for the fact that this is not his day job and he is by no means a professional reader, but he agreed to do it. He agreed to put my words into the American idiom, if you like, or at least to speak my writing of the American idiom in the American inflection. I'm mangling these words. But Kevin agreed to do it, and not only did he agree to do it, I specifically said to Kevin, the delightful, ever beautiful Kevin, I said, when you get to the letter at the end, I really want you to do something special with that letter, because that letter is the whole ball game of this story. And he did something entirely unexpected, but also something that made me laugh so hard and gave me so much joy and was so absolutely perfect for the letter that I beg your indulgence to take a listen and take a watch and see Kevin and his very special guest read this little short story of mine about a very particular person with a very particular view of the world. And when you're watching, remember, this is a cross-continent friendship that comes out of nothing more simple than the love of music and the love of a particular band from yet another country, a third-party country. Kevin's a Rush fan, I'm a Rush fan, and that was enough to join us. And if the bonds that join us can be so fragile and thin, there's no excuse to have nonsense tear us apart. And there's certainly no excuse to be having the world torn apart as it is right now. So if nothing else, in this troubled time, love each other for the things we have in common, not the things that pull us apart. And I beg you, take a listen to MotoDork, the absolutely beautiful Kevin, and his even more beautiful special guest. And this piece of short fiction that I wrote, a very bad pun, wrapped up in what I like to think is quite a fun piece of detective noir. So next time I see you, I'll probably still be here in South Africa. I'll attend to the various technicalities that make it possible. Until then, thanks for watching and keep the faith.
Hello, I'm Kevin, also known as MotoDork on the internet, YouTube. This is Betty.
Hi.
And Paul, who is a really swell guy. He's a writer, and he's a very good writer, and he has asked me, all the way over here in Kentucky, to read his latest short story for his YouTube channel. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that right now. Betty will be assisting at some point. That's what she will be doing. This is a short story by Paul S. Ralston. And the story is called Justifiable. Let me prepare myself here. The usual lurkers watch from the prescribed distance through their own misting breath as I duck under the crime scene tape and slouch toward the row house in the middle of the street, in the middle of what might as well be called Middletown. Yo, LT, the uniform's a familiar face, some kind of can I get a vowel Polish name, As I meet his eyes, he rubs a finger under his nose. That bad. 2 weeks, maybe more. As I glance at the piles of dirty snow pushed into the gutters and up against the low walls of the 3-story brownstone, he shakes his head at my uncharacteristic optimism. Central heat. Right. 2 weeks. Central heat. Awesome. As I smear the methanol, thick and viscous, under my overlarge Mick nose, I hand my tall black to the tubby Pollock. I hate the slow cooks. He shrugs. What you gonna do? I brace, head up the 3 steps. Hey, LT, sugar? He hefts the cup. Half reminder, half ask. I'm already getting my game face on. I'm sweet enough, honey. He's still offering me the working stiff's complimentary yuck as I step into the dark and fetid interior. Even if I didn't know the layouts of these rows, even if I couldn't see the glow of the portable Klieg's, I could have found my way to the Vic just by following my nose. Slow cooks are the worst. As expected, the crime scene nerds are already busy nerding. The chief nerd looks up as I step in, eyes flicking to the thick smear. Forewarned is forearmed. They teach you that in nerd school? He knows me, knows my shtick, doesn't even blink. Wasn't an elective. I double majored with Kiss My Ass. Looks like we're done with the small talk. I scan the scene, first impressions and all that shit. Anyone we know? Anyone we needed to know? King of the Nerds offers a half shrug. Vic's a citizen, banker, but we found this. That tone. Before I even see what this is, I know this isn't just a popped cardiac. Controller nerd holds up a thick plastic evidence bag, all properly tagged, handwriting that you'd get into any medical convention between here and the keys. Central heat or not, I'm suddenly cold. BMW? He nods, still holding up his star witness. Where? The usual. Truth is, I probably even didn't need to ask. The bulbous plastic stalk, snapped off and smeared with blood and fecal, already told me. I finally look at the violated Vic. He's exactly like all the others. Naked, face down, red angel wings. Statistically most likely type O. Prints, shoes, fiber, anything? Boss nerd indicates the black plastic stalk in the little sealed bag. This not enough? Anything for you? You know what I mean. I know we're going to find a BMW somewhere out there in the piss-colored snow. I know we're going to find this was ripped out before it was pushed in. I know we're not going to find a single other physical. Seems I'm not the only one who's letting this fucking ghost live rent-free behind my eyes. So, it's her. Great detective. You also do sarcasm as an elective. For this department, that's mandatory. Truth. We're in it now. I look around the perfectly ordinary house with the perfectly dead, anally violated corpse busy sinking and soaking in and seriously screwing up the security deposit. The rest, we find it yet? He nods. Where? Kitchen, refrigerator. I slip past the hemoglobin angel into the open plan. There it is, on the fridge, below a magnet of Golden Gate and a Garfield. Same? Capo nerd nods again, his voice now flat with the reality of it all. Details of time and place are different. Other than that, same. How many is it now? You lose count? Sometimes it feels that way. He considers the black plastic violated and violating weapon of choice before he answers. 38 by my count. That we know of. Yeah, that we know of. I take in the other shit decorating the GE double door with optional built-in ice maker. No bad finger art, so no kids. At least there's that. Wife? 2 weeks. He looks at me like I'm fresh off the potato boat. What can I say? After 38, maybe shit like this starts to throw you off your game. Right. Also, BMW. I don't even get a smile. Maybe too soon. Still, I just can't help see the lighter side. He put it on the refrigerator. I bet it made him laugh. Wouldn't you? I look back at the once laughing boy, now someone's massive finger painting on his own rented floor. You laugh, you put it on the door so your BMW banking buddies can also laugh, and then, we can't help it, we both test our pelvic floor, imagining. He shudders. Not so funny now. And so here we are, both looking at the letter, the one we knew we'd find, the one we hoped we'd never see again, but always knew we would, until and unless we catch this person. I look back at the scene, already drafting the report to add to the file filled with the same damn reports. Right, let's process this scene. Let's look busy, people. As all the little nerds settle down to get this done, I look back at that pale little Big Daddy nerd face. We got to catch this person. We got to. How? We know who this person targets. And we know why. Even as I say it, I know that's bullshit and cut Emperor Nerd off at the pass. Don't say it. I know. It don't narrow it down. I nod at the letter on the door. Bag that. We'll add it to the collection. I wish I'd used more methanol.
Dear Sir, on the 26th of January this year, while walking home in the cold and dark, I waited for you to pass before crossing the road. You, however, turned into the car park at the quick stop, having failed to indicate. We live in a society, sir. We live in a community where there are rules and norms and mores and expectation. We live in a society where there are responsibilities that come along with the privileges that derive from being alive. When you fail to live up to those basic obligations, as you did on the night of the 26th, you forfeit the right to the benefits and privileges of this society. You forfeit all your rights. I, however, am not an animal. Therefore, I am notifying you in all seriousness of my intent and purpose. What you did is not acceptable. I will come for you, I will find you, and I will seek redress. Yours, the Indicator.
And that's it. I'm so glad Paul asked us to do this. So now we have done this. And I'll be tying this up and sending it off to Paul here shortly. And anything you want to say?
Bye, y'all.